Alright, so what is going on, guys? It is your boy here, the combat consultant, of course, the soundboard god, Jacob Cooperman, and as promised, I want to go over the Whindersson Nunes and King Kenny matchup slated for the semi-final in the Kingpin tournament. Now, I watched both of their fights back in preparation for this video, and I guess I could start out by talking about what I did and didn't like watching both men's performances. Let's start off with Kenny. I want to start with the overwhelmingly positive side of his fight, and that's that this is the most aggressive we've ever seen Kenny, right? This is by far the best footwork, the best feints, the best setups to shots we've seen him use. Everything seemed to come into perfect harmony when you talk about his performance. Going up against a guy like my mate Nate and pushing him up against the ringside, cutting off the ring, making it hard for my mate Nate to operate, a guy that's usually known for doing that to his competitors. For King Kenny to do that to a guy like my mate Nate and to come out with the aggression that I saw him come out with, it's clear that he has taken his career as an influencer boxer, if he wants to go into regular boxing, whatever it is, and he's taken it and he has shifted it into the next gear. So I was very, very pleasantly surprised with what we saw from Kenny. I thought his power looked really, really good. Multiple knockdowns for him in that fight. It wasn't a huge step forward in terms of volume for him, but he was coming forward. He was throwing more combinations. He was a lot more comfortable in close boxing range, in the pocket, in the clinch, with that physicality. And I think that that's a part of his game that he desperately needed. And I do suspect that Ashley Raksu loss really flipped a switch in his mind to say, hey, okay, I'm here now. I'm ready to go. Let me take this Kingpin tournament for myself. You could just see it in the way that he came out. So I guess with that, I can get into the negatives of what I saw. The one thing I noticed was that defensively, his hands were not where they were supposed to be, kind of down here. He almost has an MVP type of karate style with the way his hands are positioned. He keeps a very long, wide stance there, right? So his base is not necessarily the best for taking shots. And so I just think Kenny needs to clean up some of that head movement. He needs to keep his hands up high. He does intermittently keep them up high, but they tend to drop the more confident he gets. And I just think that that's something he needs to take a look at if he wants to continue to dominate. Then we talk about Whindersson Nunes, right? He looked fantastic against a guy in Philippek, which, albeit didn't really pose much of a threat. That's kind of the big caveat I had with Whindersson's performance. Upon a second watch, I realized that Philippek wasn't really throwing back. When he did, he was throwing the same combinations, wasn't really, again, throwing a lot of volume. He was circling in the same direction. His footwork wasn't really good. So it was almost kind of like target practice for Whindersson Nunes. But still, a big, big improvement over his first ever fight. Whindersson has fantastic head movement, great defense, great footwork. He's quick getting in and out of the pocket. And I think once he senses blood in the water, he really just turns it on. And he has that fantastic finishing sense. I mean, you see it in that finishing sequence in the Philippek fight, the way that he's just tracking him down, hitting him with body shots. Most certainly an upgrade over his last performance. I just don't think we got to see the full scope of his potential because he wasn't really pushed in a big way. Philippek did not push him in a monumental way that would make you say, okay, he was getting backed up, right? Maybe he got knocked down. Maybe Philippek was applying pressure and he really showed out, right? And he really let his skill set do the talking and let his skill set get him back into that fight. I didn't see a lot of that for him. I thought it was an easy contest for him. It's clear that that whole mystery opponent nonsense was just because they couldn't find him another opponent. So now the question becomes, how is Whindersson going to be able to stack up against a guy like King Kenny that's so dangerous, that's so quick, that's so long, tall, lanky? And I really don't see this going too well for Whindersson. Whindersson is 5'9" to Kenny's 6 foot. He doesn't quite have the reach that Kenny has. I don't believe he possesses the speed or the skill, the feints that Kenny has. His saving grace might very well be his defense. And for sure, a great offense starts with a great defense, especially in combat sports. But I feel that all he has to rely on right now is his defense. I don't think he's going to be able to mount a solid offense against King Kenny. And that's kind of what worries me for Whindersson Nunes, being that his star potential is off the charts. People are already talking about a fight with him and KSI. It's absolutely nuts. We need to slow it down. We need to think about the guy in front of him, which is King Kenny. I think King Kenny's going to utilize his length and his newfound aggressiveness to kind of cut off the ring, make it a little bit more claustrophobic for Whindersson, open him up with feints, volume, combinations, just finding his shots. And I think Whindersson will be able to survive in the early rounds, but he will eventually fall to the aggression and the trickery that King Kenny now presents in the ring in a big way. And if he wants to come forward and try those combinations again, By the way, fantastic 480 out of Whindersson, but if he wants to try that, King Kenny can always just come in and snipe him with a nice timed cross or find another counter opportunity. His long legs, which were holding him back before, this is King Kenny I'm talking about, now serve to be great weapons to get in and out of range very easily, to establish lead foot dominance, get himself on the outside of Whindersson's lead foot. I just think that Kenny presents too many issues for this to be a competitive matchup. Well, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. I've been your boy, the combat consultant, the soundboard guy, Jacob Koopman. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.